All right. It says we are live. Welcome here, Esther. Welcome and welcome and welcome. We are live with
Thank you,
the
Mama.
Go Getter Queen. I like the
Yes,
way
so
she calls
good.
herself the Go Getter Queen. So
Yes.
I will do some of the invitations, sharing the
Mhm.
link with all the other people who is supposed to be in this class because people are already. I'm having a lot of chat asking. So where is the class? So when is the class? And all that. We're right there. I'm waiting for them. So let's just give it a while. We already have one viewer here, right here, with
Oh,
us, and I'm sure that. So I'm trying to get the link for. I'm trying to get the link for this class so that I can share, and people will be able to. Awesome. So that people will be able to join us right here using this link. All right. Welcome, Esther, and thank you so much for doing this. I know that
you're
it's already
welcome, Ma.
1 a.m. where you are. That's a lot.
Yes, so
Esther, thank you so much for doing this. I know that
only Mama can make me come up at 1 a.m.
I know 1 a.m. When you told me it was 1 a.m. your time, I
Yeah.
almost had I was like, oh my goodness. And then you said it was just okay. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Let's get on it because we already have people right here waiting to hear you. Esther
Wow.
Fumilayo, the go-getter queen. Please, can you pronounce
Yeah.
your other name? Zinfua.
Zinsu.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. All right. Is the mother of two that currently
Mm-hmm.
lives in Thailand. All right.
Mm-hmm.
She's a graduate of music from the
Yeah.
prestigious Lagos State University, and she has a master's
Mm-hmm.
degree in educational administration from St.
Yeah.
Teresa, Thailand. She is the author of The Chronicles of a Pastor's Daughter, a book that have led many youths to Christ and also help
Mm-hmm.
parents have more thriving relationship with their children. She's the
Mm-hmm.
non-vener of the moment of truth with a go-getter, where she shares personal stories to help motivate and teach others. She's
Mm-hmm.
currently the music director of RCCG Thailand and also the minister in charge of education. She's a
Mm-hmm.
certified relationship coach from the Institute of Marriage and Family Affairs, United
Yeah.
States. She's also an investment expert where she
Mm-hmm.
helps salary earners create a backup plan for their
Mm-hmm.
financial for retirement time. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. That's a lot. And then with us also, we also have Auntie Etima with us. We're also going to be moderating this class together. So
Hello.
recently
Hello,
we
ma'am.
saw the challenges. We saw the challenges that a lot of pastors' children have.
Mm-hmm.
And that led us to in the academy to starting to look at how we can share more of the things that can actually happen, being a pastor's child. In fact, we created a class, a master class for pastors' wives to actually be able
Wow.
to attend. And then it dawned on me, I was like, oh wow, I have someone that I have been following on Facebook that had a book. I've been privileged to see part of that book, and it blew me away. I've also read some of your stories that, in fact, sometimes I sit back and like, oh wow. So, can you tell us a bit? Why
Mm-hmm.
did you decide to write the Chronicles of a Pastor's Daughter?
Okay. Um, from my introduction, you all know I'm a pastor's daughter, but somehow a pastor's daughter ended up being a single mother of two kids. So during those periods, So during those period when it first happened, I was like devastated. I would always cry and stuff. And being that I used to be an introvert, I use the word used because I'm getting out of that cycle anyway. So I used to be an introvert. I don't talk to people when I'm going through stuff. I just cry on my own and stuff. And I got to a point where I couldn't bear that burden alone anymore. But at the same time, I don't have anyone I can really open up to. So I found the internet as a place where I can share my thoughts without facing the judgy eyes of people. I don't really know those that are behind the camera, those that are watching, those that are reading. I don't know their reaction, so I don't really care. So that won't affect me when they start judging me based on what I have put out. So I started sharing my stories on Facebook, and I realized that I wasn't only the one that was getting healing, because speaking up actually was helping me to heal through the process. And I realized that so many people too were going through the same thing and they were getting healing at the same time. So that motivated me to keep on writing, which ended up being a book.
Hmm. Awesome, interesting. And okay, so the Chronicles of a Pastor's Daughter. Can you tell me what
Mhm.
exactly is there anything different about being raised as a pastor's child?
Well, there are challenges in being raised as a pastor's child, actually. I have to commend my parents. They did their best. They did all they could do for me. So whatever I'm sharing here, it's not to disqualify or disregard whatever they have done to me in the past. I happen to be the only girl in my family. Like, I have two brothers, one elder brother and one younger brother. So my dad loved girl children. Unfortunately, he had only one. So he would pamper me. He really took care of me. But even during those periods, there were so many things that I needed, but I couldn't get because my father's or my parents' attention was divided, and they couldn't really know who I am. They don't know what I really want. They did their best doing what they think I need, but they didn't really get to the core of me. And that was what happened at the end of the day. So being a pastor's child, you have high expectation. People just automatically set the standard for you. So as a pastor's child, you just put in the character because you
Hmm.
want people to see you as that person that they portrayed, not as who you are as an individual. So in
Hmm.
most cases, you don't have a choice. You just have to follow the flow. You just have to follow what your parents told you, what the society is saying about you, what the church is saying about you. So you just fit into character. And when you now see that you get out of that circle, take for instance, when I was with my parents, I could fit in perfectly into that circle, into that character, into that, uh, let's say, character they wanted me to play. But by the time I got out, it was a different thing altogether. When I got out, I
Hmm.
went to Lagos State University, and I happened to be living alone. So I was faced with realities of life, things I wasn't taught when I was back home. I didn't have
Hmm.
friends. I hardly go out. Everything I do was just from church to school and back to my house. So I didn't have any experience at all. I just moved from there to university and everything changed. I faced real life and I couldn't cope. They just say I got swept by the water.
Okay, so I think my over to you.
I
Awesome,
can
ma'am.
hear.
Thank you so
Um,
much. Can you hear me now?
yeah,
Can you hear
yeah, I
me?
can hear you now. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Thank you so much for sharing so far. Um,
Yeah,
what
well,
what thrilled me about what you just said now was you were not taught certain things at home. I
mhm.
want to bring it down to when you were a teenager. Can you remember your experience when you were a teenager? Like when you were from a preteen, say 9, 10, up to teen age before you left home for school. What do you think you were supposed to be taught that you weren't taught?
Okay. As a pastor's child, like I said earlier, there is a standard and you have to fit in. So when you have opinions, when you have questions that you want to ask, people automatically think as a pastor's daughter, you should know it. So you shouldn't be asking such questions. When you ask or share your opinion, you look, they are like, seriously, we that are not even pastors, we know better or we can do better. So things you were not allowed to have your own opinion. And being during that age, one thing I could realize is my parents didn't actually know my love language. At that age, it later dawned on me later in life that I loved attention and I love when people like words of affirmation. I love words of
Yeah.
affirmation. So at that point, I didn't get it. At that my preteen and teenage age, I didn't get it. I graduated at the age of 15. And after that, I got out. I think I spent another 3 years at home before I later entered the university. So when I entered there, I realized that anyone that gave me attention automatically means me.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter if the person is hiding under a motive to show that affection, or their motive doesn't really matter to me. But the moment I'm getting that attention and the moment you are affirming that you love me or something, I automatically fall for you. So that was missing
Wow.
during my teen. My parents were always on mission field, on the mountain, praying and stuff. They provided everything. They did everything they think they could have done at that age, but it wasn't really getting to me because that wasn't my love language. So
Okay.
that was
Yeah. Okay. So I'm listening to you speak, and I'm seeing a scenario that I can relate with. I can I can totally relate with this scenario of, the pastor and pastor misses, always busy bearing the burden that the Lord has
mm,
placed on them. I want to just
yeah,
ask, and I don't mean to be sarcastic. Can't
okay.
the anointing replace this love language? Can't the anointing replace this presence that you so honestly? I'm serious. I'm saying,
I
can't the,
understand.
you just feel like, okay, the presence of God that is in this home should be
Mm,
able to make up for the absence of Pastor Daddy and Pastor Mrs. Mom. What do you
mm,
think as an adult now? What do you think could have happened at that time? Why do you think that anointing, I know what the presence of God can do. I know how
mm,
powerful the presence is. So I'm
mm.
wondering, why wasn't it converted into this attention you needed, into the love you so earnestly wanted to feel, and and
Mm.
all that?
Well, one mistake most pastors make these days is they spiritualize everything, even when it comes to their own children. God has given us the power to do everything and excel in everything. The Bible says, I can do all things. It didn't say you can leave one and do one at the expense of the other. You can do everything.
That's right.
As a pastor, you can succeed as an excellent father and still have a thriving ministry. So that part is where most pastors' kids are missing it because you are not getting the attention you need. At that point, it's not a matter of anointing. Anointing cannot stay there when the child needs to talk to somebody. Anointing will not speak to the child. The child needs someone who is present, and he needs someone he can trust, someone they can trust, as in they can confide in. So anointing does not cover that place. It does not cover that area at all.
Okay, so Esther, I would like to ask, what exactly happened to you when you started sharing? You said you were a pastor's child that ended up being a single mother of two. I'm sure a lot of people are eager to
That's
hear
right.
how that exactly happened. I know that these things are common, but of course, we all want to hear how it
Yeah.
really, what really happened.
Okay, I said I wanted attention. And sometimes I look at the wrong places to get it. Now, before my mom passed away, she was a prophetess. And I'm this kind of person that really believes in thus saith the Lord. Before I entered the university, there were so many prophecies giving me guidance on what to do and what not to do. But at the end of
Hmm.
the day, because what I needed, what I was searching for was attention and affirmation, I choose, or let me say, somehow I disregard what I heard from home and I went after attention. At the end of the day, it landed me in trouble. He
Hmm.
landed me in school and I actually got pregnant while in school, while I was in 300 level at the university. I got pregnant and I thought, well, it has happened. Despite my parents didn't really want me to marry the person, but I was like, no, I can't really, I don't want to be a single mom of taking care of a child and stuff like that. So I entered into the marriage. Unfortunately for me, that child that made me marry the person eventually died.
Ah.
So if I had
Hmm.
listened, I wouldn't have been here. So everything I have done, everything that brought me here, I also take responsibility for it. They did everything they could do. They tried for me. Honestly, when I think about what my parents did for me, it's been awesome. But that link was what was missing. And that was what I went for. So it was too late. I was already into it. We got to Thailand, stuff happened, and we had to go our separate ways eventually.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay,
When did
I hear from this story, from this
Yes,
conversation
ma'am.
that, oh, okay, that they did everything. When you say everything, do you think that there's a place of learning for the pastors when it comes to parenting, apart from the spiritual,
Definitely.
the prayer, that, God, we know that God covers and all that.
yeah.
Definitely. When I said they did everything, I mean based on their knowledge, based on what they know.
Mm,
Now,
Mm-hmm.
those times is different from now when we have so many people who are coming up to teach parents. There are some lessons that I learned from them that I'm not using on my kids now because I have better knowledge, I have better understanding of how to go about parenting. So if they had that knowledge, then they would have done differently. But based on what they know at that time, they did everything they could do
mm,
based on what. So that's why I said they did everything. They tried. If they had learned more, like your book, Connect to Correct, if they had connected, I wouldn't be here today. That connection
mm.
was what was missing for me.
But what do you say about the societal pressure? Now, apart from the fact that these pastors, these ministers try to do everything that they want to do, is there a place, is there too much expectation on the pastor's child? Do you think this is a problem? Do you think this
Def-
could be solved? How?
Definitely. I've seen cases where a pastor's child misbehaves and the church discipline the father. So most
Hmm.
times they take that anger up on the child.
Yeah.
Instead of caring for the child, they are like, to some extent, hostile because they don't want their names to be soiled. They
Soiled.
are living under pressure, so they transfer the pressure to the child. So societal pressure
Hmm.
is definitely there. And when you hear any news about pastors, people are eager to hear. People are eager. They want to know,
Exactly.
forgetting that pastors' kids are human beings, just like you and
Hmm.
I. They are not, because God called their father, because God called their parents, does not mean they are called. They are human beings also. They can make mistakes, but
Mm-hmm.
society don't want to hear that. They believe once your pastor once your father is a pastor, you are automatically saved, and there is a standard for you. So that pressure goes from the society to the church to the pastor and to their kids.
Hmm. Interesting.
Hmm.
Okay, ma'am, I would like to ask, did you notice any form of synergy in parenting between your mom and your dad? Or was it just mom strictly, or were there times when dad had to get involved in, raising you?
Well, actually, my mom is a soft person. I can't remember if she ever laid her hands on me. I can't remember. She's very soft person. She doesn't beat. She doesn't like beating. But my father, yeah,
Hmm.
was a teacher for about 15 years, actually. So you don't mess with a teacher. A
Mm-hmm,
disciplinarian,
mm-hmm.
you don't mess with him.
Yeah.
There are times where people have asked me, how do I live with him? Because they see him outside, they see how he disciplines people. So my father was on the high side. My mom was, she's one we usually run to when we have issues with my dad. But interestingly, I was his favorite. So usually does
Wow.
not beat me. But if he beats me once, I remember it for years.
So who would you have really wanted to connect with? Who would you really have wanted to, express yourself to, share your deepest feelings and fears and hopes, and who would you really wanted to have done that with?
I prefer my mom, though
That's
I
it.
love my dad. But if I tell you something, he takes it overboard. Like there was a case in my university where a lecturer was on my case for sex. And I choose to tell my mom. Because if I tell my dad, he can follow me to school and go and cause a sin.
Yeah.
So most times I relate more with my mom than my
Hmm.
dad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before Wendy continues, I would like to ask, do you think that it is okay for the pastors and their families to be um treated with so much, okay, let me say it this way. Something goes wrong, maybe a pastor's son is caught doing something wrong. Do you think the whole disciplinary measure of suspend you from church, you make you step down from the altar from your assignment, call you out, shame you? Do you think the excuse, or rather the reason that is given, is that to serve as an example to others? So do you think
Mm.
that works? Do you think that disciplinary measure works?
Disciplinary measure, is it on the case of the father or the child?
Or the case of the, when it happens to the father, then it now, comes down to the child. Yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm talking as well for the pastors. Yes. Do you think it's too hard on them because it's indirectly coming to the children?
Yeah. It's two ways. One, that disciplinary measure does not work. If a child has offended, let the father handle it. The father or the parents are closer to the child. They should be the one to handle it. You don't have to punish the parent for what the child has done. The child is a different entity entirely. And one thing can happen is either you lose the child outrightly. No one
Mm-hmm.
wants to be embarrassed. Everyone can make mistake, fine. But when the mistake is made, we should find a protective way to correct the child. Shaming a child can make the child lose interest in himself, can make the child, as in, you can lose the child forever through that. And
Wow.
number two, because the child is conscious that if I do this, this will happen to my parents, they become pretentious. You see them in the house, they are 100% obedient. But when they are outside, they are something else entirely. So that kind of measure can make a child live a double standard life, which is not exactly what the gospel is all about. A child should be able to come out as who he or she is. If the child is doing something wrong, correct the child. You, as in love, you end up gaining the child. But when the child becomes pretentious, you don't even know what the child is doing. So how will you correct? At the end of the day, when the deed is done, maybe the child commits abortion and dies. That's when you now start thinking, oh, what I know. So that does not work. Everything should be done in love and to protect the child.
Okay, I like this last part. Everything should be done in love and to protect the child. Is there
Mhm.
a place, is there a place of the pastors themselves not having time, not having enough time, for their children in this whole setting? Is there something that they do not understand about the whole parenting system? Because there's always something about the pastor's child.
mm,
Oh, there's, people try to pick on them naturally. People in
mm,
the church, we want the pastor's house, home, to lead by example. Is there something that the pastor themselves or even the pastor's wife misses?
mm,
Because I remember where Etima shared something on her timeline. She said, so the pastor's son does something wrong. The pastor's wife covers it up so that the church will not shame her husband. And then he goes, and then eventually you have the pastor's child. So the child now goes out to do something, say, that's it, he's a pastor's child, he's a pastor's child. Is there a place, for
mm,
these ministers, to understand what it is that should be done? Is there a place of their time not being there? Do you believe that timing was part of all the things that happened, especially in your journey? That time, if maybe
mhm,
you had more time, maybe a lot would have been different.
mm. For the question, Mrs. Etima, I think I got that right. From the question
Yes.
she asked earlier, I said you shouldn't spiritualize everything. Most times, pastors think they have time for their children, but even in that time they are creating, all they talk about is Bible. All they talk
Hmm.
about is spirituality. You must grow. You must do this. You must do that. There is no deep connection to even know what the child wants. Who is this child that I'm training? What are your
Hmm.
ambitions? What do you want? Who are you? Most pastors
Hmm.
do not know who their children are. They just know it's a pastor's child. She's good. She's fine. That's it. So I can't, like for me now, I can't remember any day at all that I went out with my parents.
Hmm.
No, as in for, let's say, for vacation or something, there was nothing like that throughout my preteen or till I grew up and stuff like that. So that connection was missing. All I hear was be a good girl. I
This
remember this parts of the scripture that my father will always sing into our ears. Evil communication corrupts good manners. Do not move with wrong friends.
a very good
So
one.
if at that time that they think they have, it is all based on spirituality. We don't have a one-on-one connection with our parents.
Hmm.
So that time
Hmm.
is missing. Pastors need to do better on that aspect.
Oh, okay. I hear you say, of course, there's a spirituality part, and people argue that once you
Mhm,
can pray, everything should
mhm.
be all right. Of course,
Nah,
which of course we
Rebabo.
know
Rebobo.
that we
nah.
of course we know that that's an error in itself. All right.
Mhm,
I think also because the pastors are not allowed to be human, just like Grace said in the comment section, you walk on
mhm,
eggshells. Members are waiting to pick fault. Even from
mhm,
your parental issues, the
mhm,
pressure. You
mhm,
battle within to be yourself. I've seen a lot of pastors go through depression. I've seen a lot of pastors battle so much evil, so much devil, that they are not
mhm,
able to even share with anybody because people look at them and create one perfection in the setting. And I think,
exactly.
unfortunately, children are also born into that system where they are
Mhm,
Yeah.
created into that perfection, system. Now, I like to look for solution. Apart from the fact that we've identified this problem. In fact, it was a problem we identified. We sat down and we said, this is a real challenge. The point
mm,
is, how do we begin to deal with this so that we can have more ministers understand what it entails? I'm not interested in having a pastor's child once again go astray and then bloggers carry it all over. We should be more
mhm,
interested in seeing the minister's child have a better life, and then
mhm,
their life is interesting and everything.
Mhm.
So if we're
Mhm.
looking for the positives, that's why we're saying that's why we are here. We're looking for the positives. Now,
Yeah.
before we get down to what it is that we need to do, and I think this applies to everybody raising their child in a religious way. It doesn't matter
Mhm.
whether you're a pastor's child or your pastor
Yeah,
or your wife
yeah.
is a minister. I think
Mm-hmm.
every one of us who wants to raise our children in this, in a spiritual way, in a religious way. I have seen parents who, when they want to correct their children, what you see them do is that they begin to preach Bible. And
Mhm.
many of the time, I'm thinking, what exactly are you doing? Because I think we
Exactly.
miss a lot of things in our
Mm.
quest to be very
Mm.
religious and very, very spiritual about our journey.
Mhm.
Forgetting that there's
Mhm.
a place of being human. There's a place
Mm.
of also, live on earth. All right.
Mm.
So I want
Mm.
to know, can you list 5 challenges you had as a pastor's child growing up? I want the audience to be able to, leave this class and say, that pastor's daughter was able to say, these are the challenges that I had as a pastor's child. List for us, what are the challenges you had? Explain to us why, and then we look at the solutions to this thing.
Okay. The first challenge I had was, I mentioned it before, God called the parents, He didn't call the children.
Hmm.
So most times what pastors eventually do is put their children into the system. They put them
Hmm.
like, because I'm a pastor's child, I must sing praise and worship, I must beat the drums, I must preach, I must do this. So the children are engaged in that. They are not really led to Christ. They are just
Hmm.
doing what their parents asked them to do. And that's why
Mm-hmm.
for me, when I left my parents' house and I went to another church, what they were doing there wasn't what I had at home. And because I
Hmm.
wasn't really rooted in Christ, I couldn't operate in that situation. Because what I want is just what I'm used to, what my dad used to ask me to do, go to church every day, that and that. I wasn't deeply rooted in Christ. So
Hmm.
what we see these days is when pastors' children now leave that setting, the setting they go to, church becomes so irritating to them. And that is where Satan will now enter into when Satan will now enter into their lives and begin to mess things up. Because they are only officiating on their parents' orders. They are not led individually to know Christ. That's one. The second challenge I had was high expectation. You just have a
Hmm.
standard. You cannot bring it down. There is nothing you can do. You don't have your own opinion. You just have to remain
Mm-hmm.
there. So when you now go out, there is no one to hold you on that high standard anymore. Like for me, when I was living alone, there was no one to hold me responsible for anything anymore. And like I said, I wasn't deeply rooted. So it was very easy for me to bring the standard down. So those high standards, parents need to work on it, as the pastors need to work on those high standards and make sure they are connecting to their child individually, not just raising actors who will act for them at the end of the day.
Hmm.
Three.
Number three is discipline. Number three is discipline. Like I said, pressure comes from the church. It comes to the pastor, and then it automatically transfers it onto the children. I'll use the example of my father. While we were growing up, I would see my father, because I said earlier that he loves me, so he doesn't really beat me. But I've seen my dad beat my brother on so many occasions that today I still think he's still hurting based on all those disciplines he got. I'm still praying for him today that he will eventually turn around and turn to Christ and stuff like that. But from my interaction with him, you could see that he's hungry from something. You
Hmm.
could see that he's hurting. He's not saying it, but the way he
Hmm.
acts, the way he behaves, you could see. I was thinking about it, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, that I'm going to call my dad and ask him to please talk to him as a child, not as a pastor to a to his son now. but as a child, as a father to a child, if possible, apologize. Because now thinking about those things, they are not really palatable. They are not things that anyone should have gone through. But I imagine the pressure. I imagine the pressure, and the discipline was not here. It is either you are there or you get it hot. So that discipline was it. And then the last one. Okay, I mentioned love language. You see
Yeah.
many pastors' children doing things, and their father will be like, I provide everything for you, but I did everything. But unfortunately, they lost the child. There is no matter what you do for a child, if you are not speaking that child's love language, you are not connecting with that child. No matter what you do, you can kill a king for that child. But the moment you are not connecting based on their love language, and what is love language? We have acts of service. A child wants you to do something. It could be something as little as helping them in some little chores and stuff like that. Acts of service. If a child wants that kind of thing and you are not doing it, if you like buy the whole world for that child, the child will go out and look for
Yeah.
somebody who is doing that act of service and may eventually fall
Mm-hmm.
into the hands. If it is receiving
Yeah.
of gifts, pastors are so strict that once they provide everything they think you need, you see all those little gifts, you're on your own. Baba, daddy, come back, mommy, oh yo yo, you know they concern them. But if a child needs that and you're not doing it, you have lost that child. The second one, the third one is physical touch. When a child wants to rub the father, wants to rub the mother, and all you do is, hey, get away, I have to pray now, get away, I have to read my Bible. You have lost that child. You have lost that child. If that child goes out and finds someone else to touch, that's it. That child is gone. And another one is quality time. And like I said, quality time is not you talking about the Bible. It's you talking about even cracking jokes with the child. Take the child out. Make the child happy. Let the child know, oh, I am connecting with someone on a deeper level. Not they see you in church on Sunday as a pastor. You come to the house, you are still a pastor. It won't work. It won't work. And then words of affirmation. I'll be 33 this year, and there is no record of my parents telling me they love me. No record
Wow.
at all. I can't remember when they told me they love me. I love words of affirmation. Unfortunately, they didn't get me there. So,
Wow.
what language is one thing every pastor has to learn. You connect with every child on a different level. All children are not the same. They are not. You connect with them based on their own level. Then the last one I would say is you let the child find their own faith. Most pastors, what they do is, this is the church I belong to, this is where God had called me, my child must belong there. I've seen pastors who are pastors in the gym, and the child say, I want to go to deeper life, and they say, because you are going to deeper life, you are gone, you are no more my child. I've seen a pastor attending apostolic faith and see someone who he wants to marry from deeper life, and they say, because you are going there, you are gone. Most child have been lost because of that. They are not finding their own faith. They are just following their father foolishly, just like that. They just want to obey. I remember the very first time I made wool in my father's house. I got the beating of my life just for making wool. I got the beating of my life. So I wasn't allowed. It wasn't an option for me to find any other way to connect with Christ except through that path that my father has given me. And that was a challenge to me. Eventually, I got tired of what he was showing me because I wasn't fulfilled. So those are the 5 challenges that I see growing up as a pastor's daughter.
Wow, that was quite a lot.
Yeah.
While we were talking, I heard something you said. I'm very big on discipline. If you know me, you know that the way I fight the discipline part of parenting is as if my life is dependent on it. So one
Yeah.
of the things I would like to have you share. I'm sure that that's a part of the routine. The spare the rod and spoil the child phrase. because it's not in the
Mm,
Bible anyway. Just a phrase, that we coined from, the Bible. So the spare the rod
mm,
and spoil the child phrase that happens in the Bible that people quote and all that.
mm,
Did this do you when you want to do something wrong? I like to always ask. I wasn't beaten as
mm.
a child, so I like to always ask people who got their own fair share. All right. So do you in any way when this thing happened or when you wanted to do something wrong, like I think I would say, do you remember the words or do you remember the beating? Do you
Or the
feel
rod.
like
Do you remember the words
you
or the
remember the
rod?
rod, you remember the word? Do you feel like if I do this thing I'll be beaten? Do you feel even if I'm beaten it doesn't matter? Can you share your experience about that part and all that?
Yeah, about that part, I think when I got to university, I had this attitude of, after all, it's just beating.
Hmm.
After
After all,
all.
it's just beating. After that, I go back to what I want. I go and do what I want. So that particular
Hmm.
thing does not work. When you beat a child, it's only you make the child bold. You make the child have a thick skin towards doing that thing. Instead of connecting, what we were taught is obey the rules, no
Mm-hmm.
complain, just obey. And when you are not obeying, you get beaten. So at the end of the day, we become rebellious. It's not
Hmm.
actually because we know that what we are doing is bad, but because
Mm.
I realized that at some point I wanted to dare my parents. Not because I don't know what I'm doing is bad or I'll get percussion for it, but because of
Hmm.
those pains that we have gone through, we want to dare
Mm.
them. And that is
Hmm.
one other thing that I saw with my brother. At some point, he doesn't care anymore. Whatever anybody say, you are on your own. My
Mm.
uh, my father will be
Hmm.
on the altar preaching, and just at the next door, my brother is with his gang. They are smoking and drinking. He
Ah.
doesn't care
Wow.
anymore. It got to that point
Hmm.
because he had been beaten over and over again and it developed a thick skin. So it got to a point like it's just beating. After all, what else can he do? So that doesn't
Hmm.
correct it. It doesn't.
Hmm. Hmm. Oh, okay,
Mm.
okay. So does it mean that whenever I talk about this part of discipline, we there's a lot of fight around it. Does this come from what the pastor know, or does it come from the belief system? Which one is mostly the challenge?
I think it's both because on
Okay.
the part of my dad, I could remember he sharing instances where his mom would whip him and stuff. She was a high
Mm-hmm.
disciplinarian. I remember she said if she's doing something and a child does something wrong, she can just take whatever it is in her hand and stone the child at that moment. She doesn't care what happens afterwards. She just wants to get discipline done at that time. So I think he had that mentality growing up. So he brought it into us. And at the end of the day, I realized that even me, at some point, I was doing exactly the same thing my parents did. I was
Hmm.
doing exactly the same thing, but I realized, okay, something happened recent. No, something happened. I think recently, yeah. My children, anytime I go out, because they are getting older now, so I don't really want to be taking them out anymore. So I usually leave them in the house and I give them chores and say, okay, do this and do this and do this and do this. So there was a day I came back home and they didn't do anything. The two of them were just playing and I was so angry. So I said, I beat them actually that day. I was like, really? You didn't do anything? I was really angry. You didn't do anything. You only ate, you only played, they didn't even bath, they didn't brush their teeth. They only ate my food. I left everything undone. So I'm really angry. I beat them. Then another day, I left them again and I went out. I came back and I saw the same thing happened. The same thing. Immediately I entered my house, my first sister was like, Only let me explain to you. Actually, I was distracted. Actually, I was like, this is the same thing I beat you for the other day. He said, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And that happened 3 consecutive times. Now, if I hadn't learned how to connect with them, I'll just keep on beating them and they'll keep on getting distracted because I'm not passing on any message. I'm only
Mm.
inflicting pain on what they have done. We are not getting anywhere. It will just keep on happening like that, because that was exactly how we were taught. Anytime you do
Mm.
anything bad, you get beaten for it. And that didn't get us anywhere. It didn't get us,
Mm.
I'll speak for myself, that didn't get me anywhere. Beating didn't get me
Okay.
anywhere.
So you would have actually thought that I usually say that what the Bible says.
Mhm,
My friend Etima will say the way I push it is that
mhm.
people perish for lack of knowledge and not lack of
Exactly,
prayers. So,
exactly.
so it's not really about how far you pray. Sometimes you actually are praying really hard. And yet, just
Mhm,
because there's a small gap somewhere, and then you
mhm.
have that error coming in. So I
Yeah.
heard you talk about your brother who would be in the next compound,
Mhm,
smoking while your
mhm.
dad was preaching on the altar. I am interested in that part of the story. How was your dad's reaction? Did he know that these things were happening? Did the church themselves also know that these things were happening? How was he handled exactly? And what eventually happened to your brother?
Okay. What happened was during those series of beating, at the end of the day, my brother left the house. So at that
Wow.
point where he was doing all those things, he wasn't with us anymore. So even if my
Hmm.
dad wants to beat him, he's nowhere to be found because he had already left. And
Wow.
that's exactly what's happening. Even now, he's no more with my parents. So they can only talk on the phone. They can
Hmm.
only talk, do this, that. And one beautiful thing now is my father has now softened. Like, I have a younger brother who is
Good.
about 22 now, and he doesn't beat him. Eventually,
Hmm.
he dropped all those disciplines because he saw that it didn't work.
Hmm.
It didn't work. But
Okay.
God help my
I just
brother.
wanted to say that
If,
the past few minutes I didn't hear your mom in all this. Where
Hmm.
did she
The
go to
pastor's
all of a
wife.
sudden? What happened to Pastor Mrs.
Where
Please?
was Mrs.
Where did our
Eli?
Pastor Mrs. go to? Where did our Mrs. Mrs. Ella, I beg?
Where was Mrs. Eli?
for,
Keep for
for
her.
my mom, she's late now, actually. She died three
Yeah.
years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I remember her doing was anytime my father is disciplining us, like beating like that, she would only cry. I
Oh
could
wow.
remember several occasions. She would cry, she would beg, but it is well.
So I'm hearing you say that few days ago, rather last week, I made a comment about this, a post about this, how the pastor's
Mhm,
wife feels helpless. She's torn between what's going on with her
Hmm.
husband's position.
This is
She's
just
caught up with what's
atypical.
happening with her children. She's just in
Hmm.
the middle. she's
Hmm.
she's doesn't know where to go, what to do, and all that. And to
exactly.
me, I'm thinking that that is why she needs to be empowered. That is why she needs to step up and step into her role. Do you agree with me,
Mhm.
ma'am? Do you feel that if your mom was empowered, she could have stepped in as the mediator between your hard dad and then you children who wanted to be you? Do you think she could have played that balance, that role properly?
Definitely, she could have. If she had the knowledge of what we are learning now, she could have helped a lot better because then she felt so helpless. She wants to save her child.
Hmm.
This is her child being
Mm.
Hmm.
to some extent abused. And yet she wants to love this child, but doesn't want to hurt her husband, doesn't want to hurt the
Husband,
church. So
the
definitely
church.
she's
Oh,
in between. But then at that point, she does not even know what to do herself because
mm.
this kind of knowledge is not there. So all she could do, I remember on several occasions, all my mom could do was just cry.
Wow, wow.
Interesting. I can see some questions coming in as we begin to round up. We can begin to throw in our questions The go-getter thing is here. Like I said earlier, I know her by her post on Facebook. In fact, when you read some of her posts, you're going to practically put your hand on your head and you're like, huh? That happened.
What is
If
going
you
on
follow
here?
her on Facebook, and when you read that book, The Chronicles of a Pastor's Child, it twists your head.
Yeah.
Because I have come to realize that there's a lot of things that we don't think about. Now, why are we talking specifically about the pastor's child? We are talking specifically about the pastor's child because of the peculiarity, the environment where they were raised. Earlier today, I was in a class, and I think Gloria is also here. Somebody shared, we were in class, healing from parenting hurt. The person said, I don't think my parents really hurt me, but I think they were ignorant. And I think that being ignorant is actually something that I feel bad about, because the only thing I know about growing up as a child was I was in church. If they were praying in church, I have to be in church. I
You
just
have to
followed
be
my
there.
mom. She said it was as if she didn't have a life. So that
Ah,
it's not like she's
that's
hurting that they did something bad to her, but that she's hurting because there were lots of exposures that she should have had that she didn't have. So she was like fish out of water when she got out of that place. So there's a gap, really, a huge gap on how the child in the pastor's house is raised. Now we're not talking about the general parenting thing. And then you
Yeah.
now went for what you shared. You went further to say that your mom felt helpless. That broke my heart, honestly speaking, because I have seen that the pastor's wife is the one that bears the burden, not
Yeah.
just the
exactly.
pastor. So the
Mm-hmm.
pastor's wife is the one that is torn at two different ages. And she's not holding her husband well. Oh, she's not training the children
It's not
well.
true.
Bringing
Oh,
up
she's
our
not
children well.
like
Mm-hmm.
everything to her. Somebody, when we launched the master class for pastors' wives, somebody reached out to me and said, why are we not doing that class for pastors? I said, no, that's not our target. Our target is to reach out to the people who we feel are helpless. Helpless.
Yeah.
Because there's this helplessness that I feel sometimes when I see some pastors' wives. I have been privileged to work with a lot of families, that are pastors' families. And the things that I have seen. For instance, I was talking with
Oh, can you hear me, ma'am?
Okay. Sorry. Wendy's network was cut off. So
Oh,
yeah, I'm sure she'll reconnect. She'll reconnect soon. Okay, so
yeah.
yeah, she has shared several of those her experiences, with me. I have also had a lot of those experiences. I work with
Yeah.
teenagers. I'm myself a pastor's wife. I know so many pastors' wives around me, and I see that burden. I see that
Mm-hmm.
stress. I see that lack of empathy from and sympathy from every one of us. Everybody just
Mm-hmm.
feels, you know, fix it, sort it out. It's your problem,
Yes.
and all
After
that.
all, you're
So
sitting on that people's problem. You should sort
you
yours.
get Mama Gio,
Exactly.
and nobody's even looking, nobody's caring to know what
Not
she
true.
is, yeah, what she is going through and all that.
Mm.
What would you want to say? You're now a mother, you have gone through your own, share of life's battles and all that. What would you want to say to the pastor's wife to encourage her, to strengthen her, to tell her that if you can just do this and this and this, it would go a long way to help. I know you've said a lot, but you can just chip it in for the pastor's wife directly.
Okay, for the pastor's wife, I think what happens most time is they bottle in a lot. They keep things to themselves because one, you don't know who you will open up to. I will go and open your yash to the whole congregation. So they just kind of keep everything, and burden starts compiling and compiling. So I think a pastor's wife should find someone they can confide in. Everyone needs
Mm.
someone to talk to. We all need someone we can talk to. If they pray, I know it may be difficult to find someone who will not use your stories against you, but at least if they pray,
Yeah.
they will be able to find that someone, and not just anyone, someone who can always advise them. It's very, very important. Someone who wouldn't judge them based on what they have
Yeah.
told them. Because it's
Mm.
difficult, really, being a pastor's wife.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
All right, so sorry, I'm back. I think I pressed something that removed me from the studio. So sorry about that. I was sharing something about a particular family that I had worked with, and when this girl, came to me, what the pastor told me was that, oh, the girl doesn't know anything. We're supposed to start discussing puberty. By the time we started the conversation, I asked her, she was 9. I asked her, so do you know anything about sex? She said yes. What is it exactly you know about sex? Oh, I've seen sex online. Meanwhile, in the home of the pastor, I was told that the children do not have access to anything online. So I think there's
Yeah.
also a part of the denial part. Yes, there's also the denial part that they are not
Yeah.
seeing the world. I also
Mhm,
think
Mhm.
that there's also the denial part in the pastor's home that is it not these
mhm,
children? They are just going from school to home and from
mhm,
church. All right.
mhm.
That's what I wanted to share before I was actually cut off from here. So, but somebody shared something. Let me share it on the screen. And I want
Okay.
Esther to answer that. He said, so how do you use the rod of correction? Because the Bible says that foolishness is bound in the heart of the child, but the rod of correction shall drive it far from him. I want to also ask, how many rods have you used on that child? If you have not used rod, let us now
That
continue. All right.
anytime I read this particular verse of the scripture, I always ask myself, what is a rod to you?
Yeah.
Whatever you take as a rod and what works is what you should use. If cane is not working, keep using it till eternity. The child will become wayward.
Mm,
But if correcting in love is a rod to you, use it. So what a rod means to the parents is what they should use. So many people will argue
Yeah.
from now to if you keep telling them not
mm,
to beat their children, they will not hear you. So what
no.
is a rod to you?
What
Use
the
it.
rod means to you. That's a good
Use
one.
it.
That's, that's a very good one. Somebody has a
Yes.
question. So, how can a pastor create time to connect with their children? I hear some pastors say they do not go on vacation in God's ministry. Like it's a bad thing to go on vacation with family.
Ah, ah.
Did you ever go on vacation with your dad? This is your power
I
dad.
never did. I don't say it before. I never did. All this
Mm,
Mr. Big, this place, I never did with any of my parents. So I didn't experience
mm,
any life at all. These are my routine. Sunday we'll go to church for Sunday service. Monday we'll go for youth program. Tuesday we'll go for Bible study. Wednesday we'll go for leaders meeting because my parents were leaders in the church, so we have to follow them to church. Thursday we'll go
mm,
for my mom goes for choir rehearsal. We have to follow her there. Friday we'll go for revival hour. Saturday we'll go for rehearsal. Sunday we'll go to church. That was my routine.
Wow.
Out. There was no day of rest that we didn't go to church. So there was no time for us to go on vacation or anything. And that was what I
mm,
saw when I got out of the house. There was so much time that I wasn't using because there were no
Mm.
activities. All those activities I was doing at
Mm.
home, they were not there. So many other things filtered in, and that's where I am today. So a pastor must always find time to make sure their children experience the other side of life. Teach them the
wow.
practical things they will face when they go out. Not only
Mm,
Bible church. No, when they go out, the systems there is very, very different. If they are not prepared,
mm,
they will mess up.
mm,
Wow.
mm. That's an awesome thing. I can see
Mm,
Faithful. Faithful says, I think they should create a tribe for pastors' wives where they can share. I agree. In fact, when Esther was saying
Yeah.
for a pastor's wife,
Yeah.
you need to create someone you can talk to. It is extremely important, extremely, because you're a woman in authority. What it means is that a lot of things are going to fall on your knees and on your toes. All right, so
Yeah.
that is really, really important. All right, so let's move on. Amaka says, I like that. Whatever the rod means to you, use it. Chinyere says, routine. Wow. All right. There's another comment. Ikenna says that someone said, if you use a cane or a belt on your child, it's a sin. Because what the Bible recommends is a rod. So I guess welders are going to get Rita. Good vibes. You got this. Thank you so much.
That's
That's actually
beautiful.
an interesting one.
We should
This
get
way to
rod.
actually put it. All right.
Okay.
That is the perception of the rod connecting with your child can be a rod. Not yelling at your child can be your rod in parenting. Awesome. I think I like the way he also put it. Not yelling can be
Yeah.
your own
Yeah.
rod.
Yeah.
Connecting, with words can be your own rod. So whatever
Oh,
it is
rod.
that
Yeah.
you think that means, I
Works.
think you
Use it.
should get the way you need to do it. Someone said, yes, I need help. Yes, part of why, we also, because I realized that a lot of pastors' wives didn't even realize that they need help. So I thought of who do we bring on the platform to be able to buttress this point? And of course, I said, who else than somebody who has been able to walk the journey, who will be able to share from experience, and then be able to let people be able to learn. So I really appreciate, Esther, that you're here. And more
Thank
than that, if people do not recognize that they need help, they don't get
you.
help. So I think that this is also buttressing the point to a lot of pastors' wives or ministers or women in authority or even religious homes. Because I said earlier that this goes beyond I am a pastor. Because sometimes I look at the things that my children do and I think in my head, should I use a scripture and do it? But because I'm very conscious, I say, no, this is not the time. There's always a time.
I have
So
a confession.
even though they are raising children, religious setting. There's always
Mm.
something, that happens, that relates to it. So I would like Mrs. Mume Auntie Etima, all right, Auntie Etima
Okay.
to help us say something. Etima is a pastor's wife. That's an interesting twist to it. And you know what? I would like
Really?
her to share things from her experience being a pastor's wife. When we're creating that masterclass for pastor's wife, I had to call her and I said, can you be real to say these are the challenges? And she was able to actually, open up to say these are the real challenges. And these challenges are so real because you can't take them away. We need to begin to resolve them from, the root. So, ma'am, share with us.
Okay, so Wendy, let me, this program is for pastors' wives and women in ministry. Let me share my experience, from the angle of a woman in ministry. So I noticed something with myself, and I know it happens a lot with others. You are out there pouring out your lives, your life. You are pouring out everything. You are, you're doing all you can, and then there's this gap. Your children are exempted, in quotes, sometimes. Okay, let me give you a practical example. So recently, I was I held a program, a training for teen boys, the purity event, the purity program. So I was training them on, what to do to have to walk the path of purity. And then there was this day they were doing a challenge and they were, memorizing a scripture. And these boys were sending in their posts, and I was so moved. And then I turned, and there was my son. My son is a boy. He didn't know this same, he wasn't doing this same challenge. Of course, it wasn't up to age, it wasn't his age, but it didn't matter. I could have, so I just told him and I said, can you come over here? I gave him the scriptures. I said, recite it, memorize it. This is the second time something like that is happening. Last year, when I was going to hold the boot camp for teenagers, my son was also not of age. So I was, where am I going to keep him? Should I take him to my sister's house? What do I do? Because I need to go out to the camp. Whereas some parents were reaching out to me that they needed young, people my son's age or younger to please come because they needed them to be on the camp. And I was like, okay, okay, we'll consider that. And there was my own son in my own house.
Mm.
I was saying,
Not
no,
being
you can't come.
considered.
You're not of age. No, it's not your age. No. So a lot of times I see that the same messages we preach out there to our congregation, we sometimes sell ourselves up so much that we now forget our own. I am an
Mm.
advocate for whatever you are doing out there, bring it back home. I always say it's not easy because most times, as a minister, as a pastor's wife, you come back, you're personally, my voice goes every Sunday. Every Sunday, my husband knows he doesn't hear my voice because I will expend myself in teens church, I will do counseling, and then by the time I come back, tired and out, I had to become deliberate. I said, no, I have to find a way to create a space. I had to start creating programs. The same programs I create for my teenagers out there. I started creating for the ones in my house. So I want to believe that a lot of pastors and women in ministry are having this issue. I remember one of my mentors saying one time that she had, so many programs here and there. And by the time she was coming back home, her husband said, "Sweetheart, you are welcome. Some people are waiting for you at home." She said, "Sweetheart, I'm tired." Who are those people? He said, "Me and the children. Me and the children. We are the ones that are waiting for you to come back to us. The same way you have ministered out there, we are waiting for you to come and also minister to us." So I want to say that it's time for us to begin to deliberately look in. Sometimes I think it's a guilty thing, Wendy. You just feel that no, let me just give out everything to others. My children, they'll be sorted somehow. God
Mm.
will sort them out.
Spiritual
God
God
will
will
just,
sort them out. Since I'm serving him
yes,
in his vineyard.
yes. Since I'm serving God, God will. God will take
Mm.
care of my own. And people will say those prayers for you. Your own will not be lost. The same way you're doing to
Mm.
others, yours will be
Oh
kept.
yeah, right.
I just come to understand that when I started connecting with my children deliberately, it was different. It was different.
Mm.
My children now want to hug me, come around me. Before I'm just, please, please. But now, because I
I'm
now
tired.
realize that, yes, when I now realize that being a minister outside and being a teen mom, they are two different things. When I became aware of that fact, then things in my home changed, especially with my children. And then of course I stopped judging myself. I know that they will make mistakes. Sometimes, pastors' children, let me say this. In church, they do some funny things. Like in my church, they like to dodge responsibility. So they are the ones to take, we like to engage them. They are the ones that when you give them, come and take prayer, this, they will run. And then one day, another pastor's wife said to me, "Auntie Tima, these are our pastor's children. They are just falling our hand." And I said, "No, ma, that's a wrong way to look at it. They are like other children. They are going to have their stage fright. They are going to, not feel so confident to come and take the scriptures." She now said, "It looks like we are not training them at home." And I said, "It has nothing to do with that. They are shy
Mm-mm.
like other children are shy. So let's cut them some slack." One of them came on the stage and she was stammering. And then, all the pastors' wives and teachers, because our children too are there. We're now, looking at ourselves like, these are our children too, shall, but they are human. There's a human side of this thing. And I want us to just begin to cut them some slack. For me, that's my greatest campaign. I'm not giving them an excuse, okay? I'm not giving them an excuse to misbehave. I'm not giving them an excuse to set the wrong precedence or the wrong example. But what I'm saying is that they would also falter and make mistakes like other children. And so, even as a mother or pastor, even as pastor, Mrs. or pastor, correct them in love like
In
a
love.
parent, not like the pastor or the prophet. So that we don't lose them. So that we don't lose them. We have them
You know,
connected with us.
Thank you so much for sharing that, ma'am. When we were looking at part of the people who will help also facilitate the master class for the pastors' wives, we thought of, in fact, I thought very first the personality of the Oyedepos. it was a, oh, okay, the Oyedepo has been able to raise his children, and then you look at his children, you're like, wow, they had their challenges. I've been privileged to be pastored by one of his sons, and he has shared his own challenges, of being a child, not just necessarily a pastor's child, and things that he did as a teenager, all the things that happened. And most importantly, what he shared was the support the mother gave to him. So that's why my emphasis is actually on the pastor's wife. And then when we thought of the person who will help us come and share the part of this story and some of the things that happened, we were able to get his wife. Very interesting, to be able
Wow.
to come and share in that master class, to other pastors' wives. And I think it should be really encouraging to pastors' wives to see, people who have, done this, people who have also been able to do a lot of things and then help them in this conversation. And then we also looked at bringing Pastor Opia. Pastor Opia is the president of where When Women Pray. So it's if you are an Abuja based person and you don't know WWP, then that means that there might be a problem. Right now, I know she's also international everywhere. Our point in the academy is to get to a conversation with the pastor's wives. We wanted to get a conversation going with the pastor's wife so that they begin to walk the intentional parenting journey. Because it's as if when you talk about intentional parenting to the pastor's family, what they think is, no, the Lord will take charge. The Lord
Lord.
is there. You don't need to do anything. The Lord will take charge. We know that
They
the Lord will
agree to
take
what
charge, but please forgive us. We also need part of this knowledge. So, Esther, please, quickly, would like you to share your last words to the audience that we're having, and then also share and where they can find you, and also share with us details of your book for those of us who want to also get copies of your book.
Okay. My last word should be that parents should allow, pastors should allow their children find their faith. Lead them, guide them, show them the way, but don't force it on them. Because if you force it on them, eventually it becomes irritating to them. That's what will eventually happen. When you begin to shove it off their neck, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do this. At the end of the day, they are hearing it everywhere. They go to church, they hear it, they go home, they hear it, they hear nothing more apart from that. It becomes irritating. So as you're sharing the word, also connect with them as a person and help them find Christ. Don't just let them put on a character. If they are putting on a character and they become actors, you've lost them. So also connect and know who they are individually. So that would be my passing note today for all pastors. And for where to find me, I am Esther. If you type Go Get That Queen on Facebook, you'll be able to come up with any of my posts. The most popular one is Why Thailand. Hey, why am I here in Thailand? So you should be able to find me there. I'm also on YouTube. I'm not really expressed on YouTube, but my major places are Facebook. Then for my book, Chronicles of a Pastor's Daughter, I share different stories of my journey, different stories, how I lost my virginity and I didn't even know what I was losing. So years later, I found out that, hey, see what my mom wants me to keep for at a very tender age. There is still no time that I can recall that my mom sat me down and talked sex education. I never had that kind of privilege. Nothing, no intimate talk. So I shared how those things happened and how it eventually affected me, how it affected my self-esteem, how I got here as a single mother, and how I'm living my life as a single mother. Hoping that God will have mercy on me.
Amen. Yeah, of course, it has.
Amen. Thank you so much, Esther. Everything Esther shared here today has been, in fact, some of them she was sharing when she was saying that her dad will be preaching in one place and her brother will be smoking in the next compound. I felt jitters. But the truth, these are the realities. The realities that we never want to
True.
speak about. We are bringing you the real life conversations that happen in the
Exactly.
homes where people don't want to talk about them. That's part of what we're going to be doing, of course, in the academy, bringing real people, real life conversations, so that we also be able to learn from their
Learn.
stories and take the action that is required. And for me, it's about action. Somebody said it is about action. All right. Yes, she shared from experience. Faith is about
Yeah.
action. If you have faith, what it means is that there is work. Paul, the apostle say, show me your faith without work, and I will show you mine with the works. So it's actually about the works that you put in on this journey. So this, what Esther has shared to us today does not apply only to the pastor's home. It applies to all of us, every single one of us here, trying to raise our children in one religious, stuff or the other. All right. So okay. Abibo said I didn't want to be a pastor. Even when I got the call, I was afraid of saying yes. All right, you will do the call, so that you don't come 10 years later and tell God. Like my pastor said yesterday, he said one of his friends got a call 30 years ago to be a pastor. He said 30 years later he retired and came back to him and said, I'm ready to answer that call. Bishop said he has called, God has called another. You're no longer needed in the prayer. You called another person. So after the call now, people, you need to answer it now. All right, but I can understand that. I can understand that this conversation was really deep. Thank you, Esther, for sharing from your from your loins. In fact, you shared it. I felt it so real. And most
Thank you.
importantly, if you're a minister's wife or you run a home that is religiously laced, spiritually laced, you need to be in that master class. Ask Ektima or I how you can be in that class. That class, I'm putting down my number. You can reach me on WhatsApp or you can reach me on any of the social media handle. Of course, you know how to reach me already, or you can reach Auntie Ektima. Thank you so much, and I'm sure we will be seeing you either on Saturday or Sunday next week on one of our shows. But before then, if you're a dad on this place, remember to register for the TIP Fathers Conference. That conference is going to blow your mind. It's also going to stream live on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here.
Thank you so
Chidima
much,
saying when is it?
Esther.
He's on the
Thank
11th,
you,
Chidima.
everyone,
Please, I
for
will
having
send
me.
you details.
Thursday,
Thank you so much,
Thursday to
Esther.
Saturday.
Thursday to Saturday. Thursday to Saturday. Thank you so much, Esther. Esther is streaming live from Thailand and it's 1 a.m. It's 2 a.m. in
It's 2
Thailand.
a.m. now.
You don't understand the kind of favor we get. You don't understand what it
Yeah.
takes for us to actually bring on people here. I say it takes a lot. It's 2 a.m. her time.
Thank
She's awake, giving this value. Please reach out to her, buy her book. That book will change something in your life, raising any child in the religious setting. We're not saying that religion is not good. We're saying that when you're doing it, you must understand that there's a physical need, there's an emotional need, and there's a spiritual need, and that all of them must stay balanced at every point in time when you are having, to raise a wholesome child. Thank you,
Yeah.
and see you again in our next sessions. Thank you, and bye.
Bye.
Bye.